Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Beyond the Pink Cloud. This is your host, Dr. Alice Kirby. I'm pretty thrilled today to have with me Mr. Jason Stephenson. He is a meditation facilitator, and he has, I think, well over 1 million subscribers to your channel on YouTube. A lot of his meditations, sleep meditations, and other are also very popular on channels such as Spotify, Amazon, iTunes. And thank you so much for being here, Jason.
Thank you for inviting me, Alice. It's lovely. It's always lovely to share and to talk with you too.
It's wonderful. I was really excited to talk with you. I know I discovered your meditations probably maybe 1.5 years ago when I was having a lot of trouble with insomnia. And so they've since been very beneficial for me. And so now I recommend them to essentially all of my clients or patients who want to experiment with meditation and who are having sleep issues as well. So thank you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. My mom is really a big fan. I have to say, I introduced her to your work and she's like, tell Jason I said hi.
Oh, hello to Alice's mom.
I'd love to hear just a little bit about your background and your history and sort of what brought you to be this involved with meditation and to, create your life's work around it.
Yeah. Look, it starts way back, probably in I attended my first meditation class with my mum way back when I was probably about 16. And that was more out of the fascination. I had even no idea what meditation was about, to be honest. I just thought, I'll just go. It sounds interesting. In fact, I think I can remember walking into that class and thinking meditation was about floating, levitating off the ground. That's how much I just had no idea. And so I was pretty disappointed when that didn't happen, going to class. But I do remember walking out of that class with a really feeling really at peace for the first time in a while. And anyway, didn't sort of follow it up from there. Just had heard about it through some counseling sessions and and I went through a bit of a rough time in my late 20s. We got a bit of time. Can I talk about this?
Oh, please do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, it was a bit of a rough time and I began to, I mixed with the wrong crowd and began to, abuse my body and my mind and my spirit with drugs and alcohol and, just little care of about who I was and who other people were as well, and I think it was coming out of it was a time when I had been singing. I used to do a lot of singing in the past and things were starting to fall through for me. They weren't happening as I wanted them to happen. And I began to feel angry with the world. I was frustrated that I was always trying my best. I'd worked for such a long time. So I was telling myself and so things began to fall through. No jobs come up, everything kind of dried up. And then, someone introduced me to drugs and ecstasy, in fact it was. And I remember just that feeling of peace and that ecstatic feeling. And so I decided that, wow, is this what it takes to feel good again? And so, of course, then I began to go into that more and more and more to the point of really just things spiraling out of control for me. And, it wasn't till very later. And I was, my health took a turn. Things got really bad for me. And in fact, I was diagnosed with as HIV positive in 2005. And so it was a bit of a rough time, to say the least. And then it was almost like I had a choice. Mm-hmm. I could continue to go on the way I was going on. And, it really wasn't much of a choice for me, let me tell you. I decided then and there that I had to change and clean up my act, and that I don't want people to go through what I went through. And so I'd launched a CD for children called I Believe in Me. And because I realized that this all stemmed from the fact that I didn't believe in myself from even a younger child. And there was self-esteem issues there. And so I wanted kids to grow up that if they are feeling different, or if they don't fit in, or if they are bullied, that they can go seek internally to find that strength within, that they are beautiful. And so I recorded this CD, I Believe in Me, affirmations and meditation in word and song. I sold it on eBay, and it began to sell, and more and more and more. And then someone said to me, would you ever do an adults meditation? And I thought, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Do an adults one. And so then I did an adults one, and then a friend suggested that I, start to advertise these CDs on YouTube. And so I began to put up a few on YouTube, and that's when things began to take a turn, because my YouTube channel began to grow. Mm-hmm. And grow more than even my everything else, than the eBay CDs, and YouTube began to take off. And that brings me to this very moment where I am here now. I've been doing it for about 6 years now. And yeah, that's where I am. And meditation was in between that first experience that I was telling you about when I was 16. I had dabbled in meditation, and in fact attended a Buddhist monastic retreat, 10-day retreat. And that was profound for me. And so I think from then I knew that, meditation was a way to go, was a pathway, it was a tool that we can use. And thank goodness now, I've picked it up and shared it with others, but use it as a tool for myself each and every day.
When you were kind of coming out of that dark period that you talked about, where you'd been doing more heavy drug use and got the diagnosis, and you said your health was suffering, was meditation a big part of you coming out of that period? Or is that something that you kind of picked up after doing some other steps to get your health back?
Meditation and affirmations were a part of this, helping me get out of this. And listening to lots of positive growth and inspiring movies and recordings, and that all became a part of going back and finding that peace within, which I had neglected, or it was clouded over with everything else, with alcohol and drugs, and wanting to fit in and wanting to belong. And so I just was pushing everything down. And so, those moments of meditation and peace really, really began to help me. It took me a while. It wasn't quick. Certainly wasn't a quick fix. Mm-hmm. Maybe it took me about a year and a half to start to get my head above the water again.
Were you, other than the Buddhist retreat that you mentioned, were you going to formal meditation classes or doing more like recorded type things? I know you mentioned you were listening and reading inspirational books and other inspirational material.
I went to some, again, I was blessed at the time to live near the largest Buddhist temple in the Southern Hemisphere in Australia, and Nantian Temple. And so I often would do meditation classes there, Tai Chi. And also they helped me to bring singing back, because I ended up singing Buddhist songs across the world, in Taiwan and Malaysia. And so I surrounded myself with these amazing, peaceful people, so giving and so generous. And I've got a real soft spot for that Nantian Temple now, and for the staff that work there. That helped me through.
That's wonderful. Yeah. It's good to have that support, I think, when you're making those big, huge lifestyle changes away from, heavy alcohol or drug use, and trying to figure out what the next steps are and what the right thing is to do to just, first to feel normal again, but then to feel good again.
Yeah. And there was a gentleman up the road from me that, who I could, let everything out to. And he was much older than me, but much more wiser. And he would just come in and we'd have deep conversations on spirituality and beyond life. And he helped me out so much. He's now passed on, but he was an absolute inspiration. So even if you can just get one person that you can connect with and bond with, it can just help so much. Just adds to it all.
That's wonderful. So I guess, and I was asking that question in part two for people who might be new to meditation or wanting to try it or wanting to find resources like you were lucky enough to have, other than doing some of the guided meditations, like what you offer on YouTube and some of these other places. What do you think is like a good guideline to follow when you're trying to find a teacher or someone like that man you were just describing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, luckily today, and I know online is an amazing opportunity now because we can literally tap into so many people now. I mean, I'm going to share with you one of my favorites in the meditation field and probably one of the most experienced when it comes to mindfulness meditation. I love this man dearly. He's from the USA. It's Jon Kabat-Zinn. And I know that he brought mindfulness to the West and has it in hospitals now and for stress reduction clinics and things. He has some beautiful meditations to begin with that I still listen to his work and I love his work. So he's fantastic. But also, if you can get involved in meditation groups, even in your local area, that's just come to my mind because I was also involved in a meditation group. I would turn up each week and we would meditate in a circle for maybe 30, 45 minutes. And then we would share our experiences afterwards. And that was really good, just to know that you were sharing that space with everyone there that is seeking. We're all seeking a more content and more peace within, content lifestyle. And that was a beautiful thing. So I think community, so you're not doing it on your own, is great. And also when when you begin to meditate, you have questions too. So if you can reach out to someone for questions, it really does help.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it helps to, I think, ground the practice too, when you're surrounded by other people doing it and you have, teachers or more experienced people you can question, like you were saying, I think it helps us to like contain and embody the practice that much more than just doing it alone.
I totally agree. And here's the thing, sometimes, especially when you begin meditation, if you have any doubts that you're doing it right or that you're unsure, then that's the time when you can kind of quit and think, I can't do this. When in fact, the sad part is everyone can do it. It's like these gifts that we were born with, really. We just need to train our mind to be focused. And it's training. It's just like anything else. I still have days where I'll be doing a meditation and I want to stop, and I'll think I've got too much on, too much to do. I don't want to do this. These are the thoughts going into my mind, and I recognize whenever they come up, those thoughts, I'm like, okay, well, you can sit here now for another 10 minutes because I really realize that it's those times when I need meditation the most. I need to sit there and sit with that thought and, allow that thought to be, but then just bring my attention back to my breathing. Yeah.
When you practice meditation for yourself, do you, I know you mentioned your, the other man,
Jon Kabat-Zinn.
Kabat-Zinn, that's what I thought you said. Do you do a lot of guided meditations for your own personal practice, or do you tend to just kind of sit and do more mindfulness and breath awareness, or some of both?
Yeah, I do some of both. I mean, for the most part, right now, I'm doing mindfulness, breath awareness without any recordings. That's more beneficial for me. However, upon saying that, when I do just before bedtime, if I'm really got a lot on my mind, if I'm struggling with a lot, I will switch on a guided meditation to help me to focus if the mind's just going crazy.
I think it's nice, especially in a lot of your meditations in particular with the sleep, to sort of guide people out of that really busy mind, especially if you're just laying in bed and it's maybe harder to do like just a breath awareness or like something we would do in a sitting practice. It's really comforting to just have, your voice or the voice of a skilled practitioner to kind of wind us through an experience and allow for the mind to be otherwise focused.
I agree with that. Because isn't it funny that at the moment we lie down, we put our heads on the pillow. That's when we've slowed down. Our mind, though, hasn't slowed down for a lot of the part. And especially if we're going through any stressful periods, it seems like our mind becomes even louder at those times. And so those guided, meditations at that time can really be good to just keep pulling us back. Just recognizing those thoughts, but pulling us back. Okay, back to the breathing, because you can be, we can have those thoughts going on and we might drift away for 2 minutes or something. And then if we've got no one to call us back, then, 2 minutes have gone and we've been off in another place.
Yeah, it's like we're floating completely detached from our bodies so much of the time. When you started down this path, did you imagine that it was going to turn into like more of a business for you? Or it sounds like when you first started, you said you did the CD for the kids, which I would love to get a hold of that, give to my niece. But how did you know, or at what point did you know, like, oh, wow, this is more, part of my life's work and the work that I'm going to be doing and creating this business around it?
Yeah, I certainly did not know at the beginning, and I didn't even have any thoughts of turning it into a business. I just wanted to put out this CD for children with singing and affirmations and a guided meditation. I had no idea of what was to come. It was when YouTube started to take off that, all these subscribers started coming in. I thought, these people want to see more. And they want more and they want more. And so then I was doing more and more. And then I started to earn an income from that through the ad revenue, to the point where I could leave my full-time job. And then I realized that, wow, I can make a living doing this. And, now, of course, it's been a blessing. It's allowed me to employ people, a team of people behind me, and to reach so many more people than I could ever possibly have imagined. Yeah.
That's good. How does that feel in your body when you think about that? Like, what do you notice happens for you?
Jeez, that just gives me tingling feelings, all over. It really does. It's such sometimes I'm so, I'm so humbled. Like, I can't explain it. It means a lot to me, and to help so many people, that means a lot. That means a real lot to me. And I can confirm that that's my calling. I know that this is my pathway in reaching out to people. And whether that be through meditation or through workshops or presenting, speaking engagements or whatever it is, it feels a real gift to now recognize my calling. And it's taken, it's 53 years of my life to get here, but it's here. Yeah.
That's great. It's exciting to speak with people who have that recognition of like, yeah, this is my calling and it's taken me time, but like you said, I'm so humbled by the work I'm doing. It's really just refreshing and lovely and makes me feel very connected as a human to other people in this human experience.
Sure. And I would love to, I want to do that. I want to go out. I plan to do a tour next year, and I want to reach out to people and through my singing and through my speaking to help other people to recognize that whilst they're alive, even if they don't feel that they've found their passion in life or their calling, that it could be just around the corner.
Indeed. And yeah, I mean, life is short. I feel like, what else are we doing other than trying to take steps to, not so much to find it, but just to do the things that really make us feel good, and share those things. I'm not saying this very eloquently, but it's something I'm quite passionate about of, how can I continue to just feed myself with things that make me feel good inside and then offer those to other people. So
I think that's the thing. I think that's the trick, is finding that thing that makes us feel good inside. And when we find that, and then it's recognizing the opportunities to share that with others, that's a beautiful, beautiful gift. So if you get that feeling that something feels good, that's sure sign that you're on a great path.
Yeah.
And just continue that onwards.
It's true. And interestingly enough, some of the women that I've been working with, we sort of did like a anti-anxiety little class and course around it. And one of the practices with the somatic work that I do is to start recognizing like where you feel good and where you feel like yourself. And there was quite a few other practices involved in this little course, but that one I had the most feedback on from people who were like, I never really thought about that, or I'm not quite sure what makes me feel good or makes me feel like myself. So it was really interesting, this huge piece of like our humanity that I think we just don't really pay attention to in our day to day. We're so busy trying to solve problems and fix like what's wrong or feel better that, when we do feel good, there isn't that invitation to really embody it and take it on and create more of it. So that was interesting to see.
Oh, I betcha. I bet you it was beautiful for the participants to recognize that too. I could only imagine. And you see, sometimes I think we have to go back to when we were a child, what made us feel good then? Like, what were some of the things that make us feel good? And then when we can reflect on some of those things, that might give us a little hint of what we can try even now in our lives. Because oftentimes as we grow up and we become professionals and we get into jobs and then we have a family to support, we forget what did make us feel good. And so if we can just tap back into some of that, we might unearth some, I've only just started singing again. I hadn't been singing publicly for, maybe close to 10 years now. And I was scared to sing again. I was at a YouTube conference the other week in Melbourne, and I ended with a song. And I'm telling you, I was as nervous as anything. But afterwards, I realized that, oh my goodness, this is now a part of my calling as well, to introduce singing back into my work, because it gives to others and it gives to myself. So it's a win-win. And it just feels so good to tap into that again and to be able to share that with others. And yeah.
Were you trained as a singer? I know you.
Yeah. I went through lots of training. I started off, in choir when I was 7 or 8 years of age, and then lots of private lessons, and then lots of competitions and Stedfords and talent quests, and then began to do the Sydney club circuit in clubs in Sydney. So it was a huge passion of mine, but just when I went through that rough patch, I let it all go. And now I'm glad I got it back, and I'm beginning to write my own stuff now and have a songwriter who's producing some stuff with me. And it's just,
beautiful.
It's so good. I actually feel like a child again. I'm telling you now, I was so excited. Like I was just wanting to bust out and just let everyone know I could sing.
You look really excited. Your whole face became very animated when you started talking about it.
Yeah. You see.
How has your musical style changed? Like, were you a rocker back in the day and now you're not? Or
No, I've never been into write. I was more into like, it was more musical theater, cabaret style.
Hmm.
But now that I'm writing my own work and my songs are uh, meaningful songs to help people, to inspire people. That's why I'm excited, because I'm singing these songs that not only inspire myself in writing them, they help me. You know, there's a song called Dare to Fly, and it's about, you know, that we all go through these rocky pathways and that. But, you know, one of my lines of the song is, you know, our destiny is only a heartbeat away. And it's true, you know, we must never give up, even through those darkest of days, because just around the corner, we can find that beautiful light without wanting to sound too corny.
I think it's true though. And I think when we do go through those really dark times, it's almost like the light is that much brighter and more brilliant, and we become infused with that much more passion for our lives. Having been through those real low, dark places, I think the potential to come out of that really renewed is astounding.
Absolutely. I fully agree with that. Like that, I think when we get to come out of those really dark places, then we really, really, like, I value life immensely now, all walks of life and all people, much more respect than I ever had. Certainly in my 20s and early 30s, where I don't know, I think it must have all been about me back then. I just really didn't, yeah, I mean, I wasn't cruel, but yeah, I have a much greater compassion for humanity and for the wildlife and the world we live in.
Yeah, that's great. With your music, do any of your meditations, like, I know you have oftentimes a lot of really lovely background music. Is that often from composers that you know, or people that you know, or is any of your own music in there?
No, none of my own music is in there. They're composers that we work with, and I've been blessed along the way, again, to work with composers that, you know, beautiful musicians that know their craft well, and we have a great working relationship. I've been with one musician now for maybe 3 or 4 years now, and so yeah, got a great team of
Cool.
three musicians, and yeah, really good people.
And as far as the language that you use in your meditations, where do you come up with the creativity that you have? Is that just all born of your own experience, or do those ever come from dreams or from
Yeah,
journaling or anything else?
like all over the place, really. And for some come from even grabbing ideas from the web. Some come from dreams. Some come from other people, subscribers, saying, "Could you do a meditation on this, or could you do a meditation on that?" And again, like I work closely with a writer now, who, you know, I come up with, present her with ideas and stuff, and she is, I'm so excited by this writer, because when she writes for me, it's like she has reached into my mind. She writes exactly the words that my soul wants to speak. I can't believe this match that we have, because every time we have a discussion and I present the idea to her, and the script comes back, and it's like, when I'm reading that script, it's like it's just me talking. It's hard to explain. It's like it's just coming. She has tapped into my soul and has put the work there on the paper. And so we have this synergy going on that is, I'm very, very lucky.
Yeah, that's
Very
amazing.
lucky to have her. Yeah.
And I know you said that sometimes people will ask you for meditations on things. What are some of the bigger requests that you get, or the more frequent requests?
Wow. Lots on, a heap on anxiety issues. It's probably one of the biggest ones, and post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot on various health issues. And of course, there's so many that I can't do them all. And because, so I sometimes have to have almost like a generic health and healing one, that can help all types of people for all different things. Depression is another one that comes up a lot. But I would say probably anxiety, panic attacks, probably one of the biggest.
Have you found anything in particular in terms of meditation or other practices that have helped that portion of the population? Like, have you tried a couple different things as far as try this, guided meditation for anxiety versus this, and seen better results with one versus another, or any just anxiety certainly is a big issue. So I know a lot of the women that I work with and a lot of the people in my audience, deal with anxiety. So I'm always curious, as to what different techniques seem to work, or what you found in the work that you produce that's especially helpful for people.
Yeah, I think there's one I've got that's for extreme panic attacks, and that one that can help with an instant calm, that it's almost like a go-to that they can just quickly put on if they're going through any really rough times. And that helps, and that just purely focuses on the first thing we do is there's no sort of introduction. It's just like, let's get into it and let's start breathing, deep breathing, and being aware of our breath. And as soon as that kicks in, because that's all we need sometimes, is just to breathe. I remember, during my rough time, and this was another reason why I wanted to get into meditation, but during my dark time, I remember for the first time in my life having panic attacks. I had never had a panic attack. And in fact, I didn't even know what it was and thought I was having a heart attack. And it was a terrible experience. Interestingly enough, I remember I went to the doctors and I was, really worried about it. And I'll never forget what she said to me. She just said, don't worry. She said, you probably just had a panic attack. Everything's okay. And left it at that. And I'm like, I had to go home and look up what is a panic attack? It's like nothing explained, nothing. Oh, it's like, okay, well, that's okay then.
Yeah, you're not dying, so you're fine.
But it was a rough time. And so, anytime, I think breathing, the focusing of the breath plays a huge role. So that's often brought into a lot of my anxiety meditations.
And I know you do an awful lot with sleep. As I mentioned, that's how I found you. Do you find that insomnia is, again, a hugely prevalent issue? Like, do people request that from you? Is that why you started doing sleep meditations?
Yes, it is actually. When I first started doing meditations, there were across the board meditations for all different things. It might have been for depression, it might have been to feel good, it might have been for anxiety, and just guided meditations in general. And what I found was people were saying, could you do one for sleep to help me to sleep? And so I started to do a couple of those, and it was then that I recognized that they started to just gain traction. People were wanting these sleep meditations, like they were devouring these sleep meditations. And I realized that, I thought, whoa, hold on a minute. This is needed. And so many people have sleep issues out there. It's unbelievable.
It is.
I honestly had no idea. And even people I meet here in Australia, I can be at a conference or something and they don't even know who I am. And they'll find out just directly speaking and say, oh man, you've helped me sleep. You've helped me sleep so much. And just so many people have sleeping problems.
Yeah.
So,
Why do you think that is? I mean, I have my thoughts on it, but I'm curious.
Yeah. I think there's a number of issues, and I'm starting to think, because our world seems to be getting faster in terms of on demand 24/7 with social media at our side, and almost probably I would even dare say social media addictions. There's more expectations of us now to work hard, and then women are going back to work as well, and so they're a couple are working, and then dealing with the children when they get home, and our minds are just so wound up that they can't slow down. And this is why I think meditation now is it's necessary for a lot of people now, just to function day to day. And of course, once we can't sleep, once we have trouble sleeping, then everything begins to spiral down and down and down, because we're not getting enough sleep. So then we become resentful and angry, and then we take that out on other people, and our lives can be miserable.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really a downward spiral when you take sleep out of it. Do you feel like with some of your sleep meditations, you're actually bringing people into a hypnotic state? Like, do you feel like you're a little bit of a hypnotist or doing work along those lines of subtle hypnosis?
Yeah, I think so. I think here's an interesting thing that I'll just sidetrack for a moment. I used to do a bit of acting as well, and I remember auditioning for this show, and I didn't make this particular show. And one of the leading actresses who had already got the part, she said to me, "Oh, Jason, I don't think you're good enough for this." And she said, "Because your voice puts me to sleep." She said, "You're so monotonous." And it really hurt me back then. It really and truly hurt me. And that was probably the time when also things were already spiraling out of control for me. And now I'm getting paid to put people to sleep. And
perfect.
And my voice is somehow, it might be boring for acting, but it's certainly not boring to put people to sleep. So I think I've tapped into this now of when I do these recordings of, I have an intention before I record to make people feel at home, to make people feel as comfortable as they possibly can be and as relaxed as they can be. And that's my commitment now. Every time I do a recording, I set an intention before that recording. I want to reach the people. Otherwise, there's no point in me even doing it. And so I think in setting that intention alone, it must transfer through the microphone and into the recording. And so it must help a little. It has to help.
Oh, it certainly helps.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any training for hypnosis, or that just kind of comes through naturally? It sounds like.
Yeah. I've never done training for hypnosis. No, it's something that is on my radar and something I may very well, do into the future. Who knows? I'm leaving that open for sure.
Yeah. What's your studio or your space like where you record? When you were just talking about that, I had this picture of a planetarium for some reason. And you just did a really nice recliner with a microphone. That's probably not accurate.
No, if you only could see it now. No, it's in fact this room that I'm in, and it's probably a bit echoey now, but I record from here, from in this room. But what I do, I've got these little soundproofing baffles, and I just surround the microphone within this cube-like thing, and talk directly into the microphone. So it becomes almost like an intimate conversation when I'm speaking into that microphone. So that's my studio.
Well, that quality really comes across, though, from somebody who listens to your meditations, especially when I put the headphones on. It does feel like I'm just in this kind of otherworldly space where you're talking directly to me and guiding me through the meditations. And I'm sure I'm not
perfect.
Yeah, it's great. It's lovely. It's very helpful.
Really glad to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I know what else I was going to ask you. What other than meditation, like what other daily practices do you have or regular practices do you have that you feel like help keep you centered and on your path and moving forward?
Mm. I'm blessed to have my dog, and he's almost 20 now. He'll be 20 next year, and he still goes for 2 walks a day.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, those morning walks and the afternoon walks, that is what helps me so much, just to get me out and to appreciate outside. And of course, I'm here in the country at the moment. I'm planning to move here on a full-time basis from next year. I love the country.
Mm-hmm.
I love the peace here. I'm very blessed to be where I'm at. But yeah, it's for me, it's my meditation practice in the morning, and I usually do 20 minutes to half an hour of silence, and then get up, make my regular cup of tea. I love my tea in the mornings, and then do a little tiny bit of work, but then go for my walk with my dog. And I think it's my dog that is helping me so much. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
he's in his last years. So I'm really, just enjoying this time with him. And of course, I've got to say, family and friends. Without that support, I don't know. I love my friends and I love my family dearly, and I'm very lucky to have beautiful people in my life. Lots of
That
beautiful people.
helps a lot. What does your family think about what you've built and what you're creating?
They're sometimes they're still amazed to this day. I remember it's interesting. I remember first telling my mum, that I'm doing this YouTube stuff, and she said, "Well, I don't understand. How can you make money?" And I said, "Mum, I can make money on this. I can, I'm." And then when I quit my job, and she said, "Jay, are you stealing the money? Like, how are you getting that money? I don't." And I said, "No, Mum." I said, it's like TV through ad revenue. You get paid they get paid. And I said, it's all legit. It's all above board. There's nothing wrong with this, Mum. So
Are you stealing?
she thought I was taking it from some company or something. I said, no, no, it's okay. It's all safe.
What kind of job were you working at the time?
Oh, I've had like numerous jobs, and my last 2 jobs, I was working at Virgin as a what do you call it? A cabin crew member.
Oh, like a flight attendant?
Flight attendant,
Oh, I
yeah.
did that for a while too.
Did you really?
Virgin's a good company though. You're with one of the poshier ones.
Man, they were they looked after me so well. They were one of the great companies. I loved that job.
Mm-hmm.
I dearly loved it, but there was an ache inside me to do what my calling and what I felt. And then just after that, I was there, and then I had to work part-time because I wasn't earning too much money. So I was working, dealing with crystals, healing crystals and gemstones. And that was good too. I enjoyed that as well.
Is that something you bring into your meditation practice at all? Do you have crystals and
I'm not heavily into it now. I was into it quite a bit back then in my early days, but no, not so much now. I love them. I admire them. Yeah.
yeah, natural minerals?
Mm.
So for anybody who really wants to start a meditation practice, and I think particularly for my audience, which is more along the lines of sober women and women that are in recovery for alcohol addiction. I know we talked about using some of the resources that are online, but is there any other advice that you would give to people at this stage who are maybe trying to implement meditation or trying to stick with it, or they're in that headspace of, I've tried this already, it doesn't work for me? Because that's something I hear a lot is like, oh, I've already tried it and it doesn't work. Or any other ways to get started that you'd recommend?
It's a really good question, and here's the one thing I'm going to say, that really go gentle on yourself, go easy on yourself. And because what happens is sometimes if we miss a day or two, the first thing is the mind can start to beat ourselves up over it and say, oh, forgotten again, or I haven't done it again, and start getting angry with ourselves, and I can't do it and I can't commit. But I just say, just keep getting back up on that horse, just do it again and again and again. And what I've found over time is it's a hard thing, because meditation is not something you see quick benefits for. And in this day and age, we like to see, outcomes quickly. But what happens is it's progressive, and you'll begin to have this, you'll begin to feel this inside, and you might not even feel it. Someone else outside of you, they might say, you feel more, you seem more calm or more peaceful. And so sometimes it's outside of ourselves that can recognize it first. But I just say, one of the best things you could do is, if you can get in a group, find a local meditation group, or buddy up with someone that will help you with your commitment to it, rather than doing it on your own. Even finding an online group that supports each other, because we need that. We need
Absolutely.
that help, because it's so easy to drop off the wagon, and then and I've done this. I've done this. I've done this a few times, but if I miss a day's practice now, I just go, okay, I've missed a day's practice. It's okay. Let's begin again now. Mm-hmm. Let's begin now.
Just keep going back to it.
Just keep going back. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good advice.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you. Thanks so much for coming on. Is there anything else you'd like to share or announce or present to the world via this format?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to thank you and thank the listeners out there for tuning in. And, I hope to do a tour of Australia next year to reach people. And then also the following year, definitely coming to the USA, Canada, and United Kingdom. So if you're listening in, maybe keep your ears out, and we might meet one day.
Yeah, I'd recommend it for anybody listening to make it a point to get to spend some time with Jason.
Thank you.
You're welcome. For people who want to find you, where are some places that they could go and find you online?
You can look up Jason Stephenson Meditation on Facebook. And also, if you just do a search, Jason Stephenson search on YouTube, you'll no doubt come across my work on YouTube, meditations. And basically, if you want, I'm giving away, if you want to join my email list, I'm giving away a free guided sleep meditation, so you can try it out. And also we do a weekly email out, and that's at, if you go to www.jasonstephenson.net, and then you'll be taken to the page, and you can put in your email, and we'll keep you up to date with things as well.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Alice.